Currently, I'm studying comparative literature at UCL. And after finish my studies in English literature, I feel like I really want to broaden my knowledge of the entire discipline, and that's where comparative literature came into my mind.
It's not really just about comparing two texts written in two different languages or even the reception of a text in a different culture, but it's also about new perspectives, it's about new angles, it's about travelling concepts, migrating concepts, it's about the experience of moving between cultures and the experience of globalization, I think, on that level.
I did my bachelor's degree at Bristol. I studied politics and French. And although I liked French, I kind of wanted to diversify the literatures I was studying. So I saw an advert for comparative literature and thought I'd give it a try.
After a degree studying ancient things, I decided I wanted to study modern things. And so I thought, why not move to London?
A huge variety of languages, a huge variety of trainings, very different. Even if you studied the same, technically the same subject in a different country, you will have been taught it in a completely different way, and the intellectual toolkit, I think, that you bring to bear on that will be very different.
What really inspired me was to see how is a thing that I'm familiar with done in a different surroundings, in a different language, with, you know, different traditions, etc. So that was the thing. I wanted to compare the approach of literary studies in the West, so-called, and literary studies in Serbia.
I really liked the fact that at UCL you've got so many different language departments which are really well rated, and you can choose to do literature in pretty much any language you want.
So part of our job really in teaching them is to get people to bring their own experiences to bear, to share that, and to open up to other people's experiences and knowledge and, you know, specialist disciplines.
Probably practice and methodology of comparative literature, one of our key modules, was my favourite one, because that was actually studying literature in practice.
Students can now choose options and attend courses or audit courses in other parts of the University of London.
One of the modules I took was kind of an intercollegiate with SOAS, where I went and studied Japanese fiction, modern Japanese fiction, so I was looking at kind of the period 1860 onwards.
There were about 15 or 20 different nationalities represented in the group, and so every time we were talking about a text there was such a diverse range of viewpoints. Somebody would say, this reminds me of a Finnish folk tale, and someone else would say, no, it's more like a Spanish novel of the 1950s. It was really brilliant having so many different ideas.
Both the teachers and the students, I think, bring specialist knowledge of a huge variety of things that it's our job then to make comparative by thinking about ways in which these things can be interestingly different and ways in which they can be interestingly similar.
We were working with two other universities over video links, so we had in front of us projected on the wall a University of Lisbon and University of Aarhus class, and we'd constantly be sort of swapping ideas with them, and it was really interesting to see how these European universities would come up with different ideas to, say, the way we were taught to look at books or texts or even film we were watching a few times.
I graduated in 2006, and then I went on to translate for the theatre. I translated a few plays from English and from French into Italian, and they were published and also performed in Italy, which was really exciting.
I was actually working for a delegation from Serbia and Ministry of Justice, so they were visiting the parliament and had very important meetings there.
I think UCL is a microcosm of London itself, because it's also very culturally and internationally mixed.
It is really something which is extremely relevant to the period we live in.